Hello, everyone. This is Doug Campbell-John, and welcome to this week's episode of Revenue Renegades. This week, I am joined by Bryan Cox, the Vice President of Worldwide Sales at BrainTrust. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Doug.
For those who don't know, give us all a background on what is BrainTrust and what was your journey to get there.
Yeah, good question. BrainTrust has been a ton of fun. I've been at BrainTrust since February, and BrainTrust is all about making agents great. And so I think everyone has heard in the news that it's hard to get things to production. That people have had a ton of success with prototypes and POCs and showing like what the value of AI could be in their organization. But I think the hard work of actually measuring something, knowing that it's going to be good, putting a good product out into the wild, then actually making it better over time. This is like a really, really hard problem. And there's a new software development lifecycle that's being created, and we're a part of it. So you can think of Brain Trust as like the infrastructure that sits on top of the models to make sense of the chaos and to help people ship great products. So yeah, happy to tell you more about it, but that's kind of the basics. And I guess how I got to Brain Trust is they had spun up an executive search. I'd just done a big deal at Grafana with one of the model providers. And so I got very close to a bunch of people there. And I said, hey, what do you think about Brain Trust? And they're like, wow, you need to pay attention to this.
Mhm.
And I was very happy at Grafana. A lot of good friends, incredible product market fit. And yeah, just really loved my team there. And so anyways, it kind of knocked me off of my axis, and I can tell you more about how I got to know Ankur and the team. But yeah, it's been super fun over the last 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, your growth has been amazing. I think you guys were like 15 employees or something like that when you joined, and you're what, 70 plus?
Yeah. It's been completely chaotic. We've gone from 15 people to now over 70. We'll probably be over 100
That's great.
by the end of the year. So it's we're all wearing a lot of hats, but it's been really fun.
Well, I have to tell you, we're Brain Trust customers, and our Brain Trust journey was really interesting because I think the challenges, and many know in the product space or building AI products is it's kind of a different beast than delivering traditional SaaS products. And so you've got, all these variables of the context, the data you're feeding it, which model you're going to choose, which prompt you're going to go do, and we were doing this and trying to do our own for coffee, like what are the best briefings we can create? What's the best summaries? How do we extract action items? And we just finally said, like, this is ridiculous. And we were starting down the path of building our own system
Yeah,
internally.
yeah,
Why
yeah,
I can show you. I've got like full user interface designs. We were like ready to start coding it. And then
yeah.
I can't remember how, like Brain Trust came across our radar and we're like, thank goodness we don't have to build this. We can just use this instead.
Yeah, I think what's super interesting, when I got to know Ankur in November, is that like all the builders in Silicon Valley, like the Stripes of the world, the Kodas, the Notions, the Zapiers, they were like, "Hey, we're not going to build this. This is a really hard problem." And then I think the other thing that was super interesting is like everybody cares about speed
Mhm.
in AI, and so anything that's like non-differentiated heavy lifting,
Yeah,
people just have no interest in doing.
right.
And so not only was it kind of like a hard, surprising problem for everyone, I think, just because no one had ever experienced it
Mhm.
before, but then I think now everyone has seen like the leaders in the space have no interest in building this on their own.
Yeah,
And like one of our biggest logos told us it would have taken them 3 years to build what we had. They're like, we don't have that time in
yeah,
AI. We just need to ship fast
yeah.
and to get this stuff in the hands of our end users. And then I think everything is changing underneath you all the time at the model layer. And it's this non-determinism that people are not used to handling. So when you try to put like normal software development stuff on top of models that change all the time and give you whatever answer they want, it just doesn't work. And so you need kind of this new software development stack to help you.
Yeah, I've had a couple guests in the pod, and we've dug into this, like Richard White, who's the CEO of Fathom. We talked about this a little bit, and he's like, "Listen, it's very bespoke still, right? There's not a, it's not like it's pull this field from a database and show it, right? It's kind of a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
there's a lot of taste involved in it, and I think that makes a huge difference. And unless you've got that kind of environment where you can experiment with it quickly, it becomes really challenging.
Yeah, and I think where there's like a lot of these vertical AI companies where, they're like a wrapper on top of the AI. How are you going to build your competitive advantage? What is your moat going to be? And obviously, the model is part of the value that you're bringing to your end customers, but you have to put your own taste into the product. So something that's been super interesting with evals is the way in which you evaluate your software, the way in which you save your progress with the AI. That all happens at the score level.
Uh-huh.
And so this is the thing that stays consistent on top of any model provider that allows you to put your taste into the product. So when we work with like PMs at Ramp, or when we work with some of the largest like sports leagues that are our customers, they put all their taste into the score, which is the way in which you evaluate the LLM to like make sure it's good or not. And that's the way they're making their products great. So, anyways, it's been super interesting. This is like a totally new world.
Yeah, no, it is. I had Tamara Yoshua, who was the president of products at Glean on the pod recently as well, and she was like, it's kind of the biggest difference of not only as a product manager, but as kind of from a sales and the whole go to market function, because she would talk to these CIOs who were considering Glean, and the notion of like they run a query twice and they get slightly different answers each time is like
Right.
so
Right.
different than the old deterministic SaaS world. So
Yeah, yeah. We have some of our customers are starting to talk to us like, our customers don't trust the
mhm,
outputs, right?
yep,
And so they're actually wanting to start showing the eval outputs to say like, look, it was good.
yep,
Like we know that it was good. There was this like, and you should trust the output. And I think if you put an agent into the wild and it goes off the rails with your end customers, like trust is lost really, really
right,
quickly
right.
and they won't come back. So it's like you have to like the stuff that you put out there with a consumer product or, with coffee or with BrainTrust, like we both have agents in the product, like
Mhm.
it has to be good.
Yeah. It's kind of wild to me when I think about it because I don't yet trust, even Coffee's B2B SaaS to like be auto sending emails on my behalf or filling up my to-do list with things from transcripts. So we still keep it as in kind of copilot mode. So there's like a
Okay.
human in the loop. And yet suddenly I can, get in a Tesla and trust it to drive me down the road at 70 miles an hour. So
Yeah, maybe maybe we shouldn't. Although my favorite thing to do in San Francisco is to take a
oh,
Waymo.
the Waymos
So
are amazing.
I'm Waymo only.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
the whole different conversation, but it's I
Yeah.
never as a product guy, I always understood the benefit to the company in terms of
Right.
avoiding the cost of the driver. I never realized what a better user experience it would be having
It's just better. Yeah, it's just better. I just want to, it's, my moment to be by
yeah,
myself,
yeah, yeah. It is true,
That's
it is
point.
true. So let's shift gears and just talk about like what is your let's just start with hiring. Like what is your philosophy as you're building a team? Because again, you came in 15 people on the total team at BrainTrust. How do you think about building a team and what are you looking for and how do you kind of filter for greatness?
Yeah, I think a lot of this, I had the pleasure of just learning from great like mentors in my past. My early career had a chance to work with just some like really phenomenal people. Folks like Josh Frazier, who's had a really long run at Flexera and is just like doing great things there. And then also like Graham Moreno, who hired me at Grafana, and then working under Nico Rivas, who's leading an AI company. Friends like Ben Jaderstrom, who's also leading another AI company. I feel like we just were hardened under a lot of scale and learned what good looks like. So I think for me, one of the first things I talk about is like we're a group that wants to hit like 300% of our number. Everyone on my team is like completely crazy like that. There's a lot of sales reps that want to hit 98% of their number. They'll never tell you that, but they're fine with like just doing the bare minimum. And in a company where you're trying to go, from where you are to 100 million plus,
Huh?
you have to do more,
Right.
right? And you're always playing like a player down on the field. You'll never have enough capacity to do what you want to do. So, anyways, I look for people that always want to do more.
Huh?
I think the trait that has set a ton of people apart is like, how curious are you? Are you going to self enable yourself? Do you care about the tech? When you sit down with a CTO, can you teach them?
Uh-huh.
And I think, related to that, we talk a lot about champion building here. I think if there was a letter in MedPick that we obsessed over the most, it would be
Uh,
champions who can, do things for their own personal gain, invent timelines, things like that. And if you can't teach a champion, you don't know what they're dealing with on a daily basis, you can't win at a high level. And so, anyways, there's a ton of stuff we look at. I think the last thing I would say is like I meet all these people in person. It's like people are a differentiator, and you have to meet these people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do like remote hiring, and I just like don't think it's the way to go. So
Are you guys all in the office or are you a hybrid?
we're hybrid. Yeah, a lot of my team's distributed.
Mhm.
So I definitely want my enterprise and strat sellers to be where my customers are. But then the commercial teams, SDR teams, I want them to be in the office in San Francisco, like in the fabric of the company. And I also just generally, like Grafana was all remote, and there was some great benefits to that. But I just think for the young people that are trying to figure out like how to hone their craft, what is going on in the space, it's just better to be able to like eat lunch next to an engineering leader, or to have their leader, like two seats over from them, so they can just all learn and get better. So anyways, yeah, we go to market team is like over 30 people now. It's gone really fast.
And everyone is exceeding their quota?
Everyone is exceeding their quota. I think this is like the favorite thing about BrainTrust
Uh,
is I have no interest in bringing people on if we don't have PMF or you can't make
uh,
money. My first rep is over his annual already. My SDR that I promoted into commercial is over his annual. This is his third quarter, really two 2.5 quarters of selling. And like he's a great rep. So Jack, if you're listening, I'm proud of you. But also there's like a lot to learn. And so it tells you we have PMF. And so when we put a few reps into New York, they are over their number.
awesome.
So anyways, it's gone very fast. And I think you see a lot out on LinkedIn about kind of like ratios changing and things like that. But I think like generally, some of the thing that's missing when like these teams aren't scaling from a people standpoint is like PMF.
Yeah.
And so it's like we are probably still very understaffed. Like we need a lot more people.
Well, you've got the best hiring, kind of tagline in the world, like, "Everyone on the team is over quota." So I don't think there's a better recruiting tagline than that.
it's it's going well so far. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about development. I was looking through some of your LinkedIn posts. You talked about, the BrainTrust offsite you did in Sonoma recently. Kind of what do you like to do in terms of bringing the team together and really making sure that everyone's focused on the right thing and continuing to kind of develop?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. Like when I think about development, I think about someone's like personal development, I think about their sales development, I think about their technical development. So
Mhm.
like when they leave our program at Brain Trust, I want them to have gotten better in all three of these areas. I think on the personal development side, this is something that I worked on a lot at Brain Trust that I just think a lot of leaders don't spend enough time on. So
Mhm.
it's like, what is your operational rhythm so that you can take on more? So for example, like most reps some want to become leaders, right? Other
Mhm.
reps want to go from like commercial to being a strat rep and they want to increase their W2, whatever the path is for them. But they've never like taken the time to think about how they're going to get the most out of their 8 to 5 every day of the week. And as it relates to that, I think then a lot of people end up working at night or like late hours, right? To like get the results that they want. But I think that just leads to worse work over time. And so we talk a lot about how this is an ultra marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yep.
And I think in like companies that have PMF where people are making a lot of money, and in particular, young people feel like they just have to work like all hours of the day. And there's going to be times where like we're doing a presentation like all hours of the night, right? To like get ready for the next day at the end of the quarter, which is like fine. I'm in for that. But I think at our team, I want them to find a way to like do their best work during the day and then to turn off and to do the rest of their life. So anyways, we talk a lot about that. I think if you don't have some sort of like balance or like boundaries, then the long-term trajectory just becomes a little bit more burnt out. And so anyways, there's like a ton of talk about that out there that I just I don't think is all that helpful. I think you do really, really good work during your workday and then also still, like, have a life outside of work.
Yeah, well, you're the you know, you've got 3 young kids, you know, I was in my previous startup, my kids were, you know, younger as well, and I would tell the people, I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna go home for dinner time every
That's
night.
right.
I'm gonna spend time with my family. I'm gonna be offline for a couple hours. If it's really urgent, you know, you can call me, but, like, don't expect me to respond to stuff until the kids go to bed." And that was just sacred time for me, and I think that's so important to keep those kinds of boundaries in place because at the end, you're right, like, this is not about a 12-month sprint. This is doing this over several years.
Yeah, this is gonna be like a long-term sprint where, like, we wanna build BrainTrust into a big company, and it's just not sustainable. There are things going on outside of work. So, also, I'm doing a lot of work at night, so, it's just, like, there's times when you have to put the work in. I think the other piece of this is, like, the people in your life have to be aligned to it. So,
Uh-huh.
like, everything I'm doing, I'm checking in with Jenna, my wife. It's like, "How are you doing? Is this okay for you?" And so anyways, but, like, getting back to development, I think it's, like, that personal side that we talk a lot about. I want sellers to, sell with their strengths. Sometimes when a seller comes into, like, my org, they don't know what their strengths are.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, if I have a seller that's hilarious, I want them to be hilarious, like, in their sales cycles. And then I think there's, like, on the sales side, a really, like, simple example is we send most of our sellers out into the world without negotiation training, which I'm doing currently today.
Uh,
And so it's like one thing we're thinking about as leaders is like, let's get them the training that they need. They're like going up against people at sourcing that have had years and years of training on this
yeah.
stuff. And so, and maybe the last thing I would say is my sellers are super technical. Like BrainTrust is a technical product. They've been
Yeah.
selling databases, cloud platforms, things like this. And they need to be able to teach people about the space. And generally, like AI engineering is very new, so
Uh-huh.
nobody knows what's going on in this space, and so they have to be technical. And I want them to be opinionated, and so we work a lot on this stuff.
How is it like no one bats 1,000 in hiring, right? So, you know, if someone comes in besides, you know, how much time do you usually give somebody and when do you make that decision of like this is trainable versus, you know, let's say goodbye?
I think you just have to move fast in a startup. It's always easier for me to when someone comes in the door to make it work. I
Mhm.
always tell people that, but they also have to be in on it too. Like, do they want to give it the effort that it needs? And so, I don't think there's any one specific time. Like everything is contextual, but you do have to move fast in startups. You have to hire fast, and then you have to move on from people fast if they're not a good fit. And I think it's pretty unfair to your ecosystem if you don't do that inside of the company.
Uh-huh.
Because we're not here to create a family business. Like we're here to build a big company. And so, there's plenty of companies out there that are lifestyle businesses, and this is like you just have to be honest and upfront about what it is. So,
Yeah, we've done this thing in all my, you know, at coffee and previous companies where somebody joins and 90 days out, we've already put a meeting on the calendar. And it's basically the check-in. And it was because I realized everyone that I ever had to say goodbye to, I knew within 90 days, right?
yeah, yeah,
Usually much faster.
yeah,
And to your point, like if you're holding on to somebody because it's like, well, they're mostly getting the job done, or they're, you know, like it would be hard to go, you know, I don't want to have that resource gone. You
right.
just make the wrong choice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like 100% of the time the wrong choice for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you now sold AI products, before that non-AI products. What's different in terms of kind of the trial process, the evaluation process? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was talking, actually listening to Elon Gill's podcast. He's on our
Mhm.
board.
Yeah.
One of the things he was saying is that things you were doing in 2022, you might have to throw out. Like AI demands like a new playbook, and
Uh-huh.
I think that's really true. We grew up, in the Grafana world doing like playbook selling, right, with new business meetings and POV echo backs and getting to the EB pre POV and all these things. I think in AI, you kind of have to do all things at once.
Uh-huh.
And so I think one thing we're seeing is like a lot of our NBMs, new business meetings, are consolidating at POV time, where we're like scoping the POV and validating the business problem. and they've also probably already touched the tech,
Uh,
like through some sort of free trial.
right.
Um, so I think people are just not used to that. I think some people come into the brain trust sales cycle and they feel a little out of control, and it's
Uh,
just like it's just the new normal. Like in AI, you have to be, first of all, your technology has to be fantastic. And
uh,
so I think like that has been such a differentiator for us. So, like when people touch the tech, they love it.
right.
And then you have to meet them where they are. So, some of these AI natives that we're working with like don't want to get on the phone.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like it's just who they are. So, and that's okay. Like we just have to meet them where they are. So I do see the sales process changing. And I think we very much believe in getting to, economic buyers and to understanding their priorities, but also doing it together with the technical team. And the way in which we're doing that is changing. So gating access to the tech is not the way to do it anymore.
So how much of your motion then is kind of PLG versus a sales led motion these days?
It's really both. I would say like in terms of like lead flow, it's like, hey, they raise their hand and they say, hey, Brain Trust, I'm interested. Then we get or we get like a free org. They sign up, they start doing something, and or we're doing PG, and that stuff like influences the lead flow. Um, so PLG, we kicked off PLG in March, and it's just like up and to the right. And so it's definitely been a good motion for us. But I think our perspective is that that feeds the enterprise motion,
Right.
and we're seeing people graduate out of the self-serve motion very, very quickly. And so, yeah, it's been really exciting to see.
What is as you said, I think that like this is the brave new world for all of us on both sides of the, the
Mhm.
buyer or the seller equation. So how do you think about kind of education and community and all those parts of the puzzle?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Like, Anker's like first year or two, he was pretty specific about doing like no sales and marketing. So
Right.
all of it was founder led.
Uh-huh.
I think some of this was born from Impera being a little bit of a good idea, but in search of a problem in Anker's own worlds. And BrainTrust was really formed inside of that company. He built BrainTrust there. He built it again at Figma, and then they incubated it with the Kodas and the Noshas and the Zapiers. So he's built it now 3 times. It was a problem from the get go, and so I think his perspective was, you know, I am going to make sure that this thing has such insane PMF that it succeeds in spite of itself.
Right.
Um, and so then, just now we've started to get marketing going. We just brought on Morgan. She was a VP of marketing at Vercel. She's phenomenal. And so we've started to invest in things like community, ecosystem, DevRel, like things like this. But we're just all getting this stuff off the ground right now.
Wow. And I'd also it's interesting because I was again noticing on some of your posts you're pretty active in like doing a lot of dinners, right? In
Yeah.
this world of like AI SDRs and people not wanting to talk to humans, what are your thoughts on kind of a human touch versus the self-serve approach?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We kind of think it's our role to bring the community together.
Uh-huh.
And I think, a question I often ask people at these dinners is like, who's new to AI? Like, who's been doing it for longer than a year? No one's hand goes up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, who's been doing it for less than a year? And everyone's hand goes up.
Right.
And so we do the dinners actually just to get people together to share like their war stories and also what's going well for them.
Uh-huh.
And it's been amazing. I mean, my team did a dinner in Boston. Someone drove from like 5 hours away just to get to the
Wow.
dinner. Uh, and I think some of that is like, yes, they like our tech. I think other pieces of that is like nobody knows what they're doing in this space, and they want and need connection to people that have been doing it maybe for a few weeks longer than them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're doing a lot of dinners. The food and the wine is great, and then, we're making a lot of new friends, which is awesome. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, kind of in this world of lots of remote work, and as you said, like AI and the promise of AI agents taking over roles and stuff like that. I think the human to human connection is becoming more important than it ever has.
Yeah, I like, there's so much talk about, AI replacing humans,
Uh-huh.
and in some cases, it'll change the economy. Like, I've definitely seen in some places with our customers where, like, they don't need humans to do a certain task anymore. But I do think it's like the great equalizer. And so those that have ideas or those that learn how to use AI to do work for them, etc., will enter the new world with a leg up. So yeah. Anyways, I think it's been a pretty interesting last 2 years for sure.
Yeah. Sounds like you're more in the model of like, let me go and kind of arm your reps with an AI super suit as opposed to like, let's swap them out with AI SDRs kind of approach.
On the SDR side, I do think like we can probably scale that team. Like the ratios, I think, can get like way better over
Uh-huh.
time. And I think outbound is still like really hard work to do.
Uh-huh.
If Doug comes into the front door of BrainTrust and says, "Hi, I'd like to buy BrainTrust," then we probably should automate that. Like, I don't think that's very differentiated work.
Yep.
And I think generally the SDR team that moves into my commercial team, I want them to learn how to create their own sale. And so that is still pretty challenging work. But I do like when a rep walks into the door at BrainTrust, their territory, like, first of all, like the comp plan, the territory, that should all just exist right away.
Yep.
And then all the research should be done for them so that they don't have to do any of this busy work. And we're like, an example of this is we're doing a blitz next week, which is very like basic. But my SDR team, my RevOps team, marketing, they're all working together to prepare all of this stuff for the reps. Whereas in the past, all this stuff was like, yeah, reps go like warm all this up, go do all this work, which took away time from them selling at the end of the quarter.
Uh-huh.
And now they're just walking into something that's like prepared for them. So, anyways, like our job is to serve the rep. Like whatever makes their life easier,
Yep.
will be good for them.
What are the AI technologies that you are hoping can offload stuff from your reps or make your team more effective?
We're pretty early days into this. We're just setting the stack up.
Mhm.
I think Clay has been phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
We're doing a ton of work with them, and like the founders there are awesome. I think like I just told you we had rocks into the office the other day. I think like some of the work they're doing on the agent side is like pretty interesting. I want to get like all the busy work out of the rep and SDRs day to day.
Yep.
Um, we're doing some work with Unify. You know, I like just generally like signaling needs to like be really clean from a first and third party standpoint, and I just think you can warm up a territory basically that is not warm today with like a
Mhm.
lot of automation. So we're thinking a lot about that. I would love to see like territory management
Uh-huh.
get cleaner in this space. I just like don't think it's quite there yet. But I'm open. I think like it would be pretty hypocritical if we didn't adopt an AI native stack,
Right.
and then just also generally like I want our team to lead the way in this space. So I think over the next 2 years it's gonna be a ton of fun. And that's like why we were talking about this earlier, like kind of like legacy go to market tech that wants to lock you into multiple years.
Yeah.
I just think it's like just not the way. And I think they generally need to do like a redo of how they're like engaging with young AI startups. So
How do you think about pricing in this new world as well? Because everybody's kind of in the per seat model's dead. It's all, consumption-based pricing, and I think that that works for some things. I've yet to find a CRO who's willing to say, "Here's 5, I'll just give you 5% of my revenue for my CRM." So we're not quite there yet, but, like, how do you think about that overall for brain trust as well as the kind of stack that you're thinking about?
it's a good question. I think it depends on the technology. Like for example, like BrainTrust, like half of our revenue is really self-hosted and half of it is SaaS.
Uh-huh.
And when I say self-hosted, it's a hybrid deployment model. So the control plane lives with us, but the data plane, like anything sensitive, lives with the end customer.
Yep.
And sometimes we have conversations like, "Hey, like we're running all the compute. Like, why are you charging for consumption?" It's like this is a really hard problem to solve. It's actually even harder to solve now that it's in your own environment.
Right.
And so I think pricing for value makes a ton of sense. We've had a lot of customers that are like, "We like this model," or, "We like that model." And I think the advice I would give to people is, like, you need to listen to your customers. So it's like, yes, you need models that scale with your company. Yes, it's, complex for your billing team to have different pricing models and stuff like that, but especially for, young startups, you need to meet the customers where they are, and, you need to listen to the feedback, and at the end of the day, it's, like, really just, customers that matter. So it's kind of a non-answer, but I think, generally, I'm aligned to usage-based pricing. I think if Doug is using 100x more of BrainTrust, or I'm using 100x more of coffee
Yeah,
than the other user on my team or whatever, then, like, I should give coffee more money. Like, I'm getting more value out of it.
sure.
As long as it, like, scales economically, over time. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, let's shift gears, and just do a little bit of a speed round here, so we can understand a little bit more who Brian Cox is.
Let's do it. Yeah,
Let's
let's do
do
it.
it. So what would be something that, we'd be surprised to know about you?
Okay, young Bryan, went couch surfing in Europe, which is very average for a college kid. But I think, like, the one thing I learned about that, we basically would wake up in the morning, we would look at the EasyJet website, and, we'd find the $20 flight, and we'd be like, "We're going there." So we had absolutely no agenda. It was a very fun time in life. But I think the thing I took away from it was that, like, people are good. And there was just, like, a lot of learning done on that trip, but there were a ton of people that helped us out and really had no business, being all that nice to us. We were just, like, 2 college kids that, were pretty immature, and so, anyways, I just think, that was a really fun trip, definitely shaped a lot of the way I think about the world.
Yeah, I think about that for my kids as well. It's like, I'm like, go do semester overseas, go do,
Yeah, yeah.
go do gap year, go do all of that stuff. What do you like to do for fun outside the office?
Right now, so I've got 3 kids. I think we were talking about that earlier, so they take a lot of time. We're at the beach often, but when I get some time to myself, I played tennis in college. So, 3 sets of clay court tennis with a good friend of mine, just, like, beating each other up, although we're both a little injured, is kind of my happy place right now. I took a decade off, so I'm back at it, but,
Nice.
it's been fun to do, so.
So you prefer clay over other surfaces?
I do. I grew up on hard court,
Yeah.
and which is why American tennis is basically bad.
Oh,
And now that I get to play on clay, it's just much more fun. The game is slower. You have to be more thoughtful, and it's good to get a little dirty. So
interesting. I've never played on clay, but it sounds very interesting. Yeah.
we'll have to do it.
I'll
Yeah.
have to do it. Yeah. Um, and then, personal product, like what's something that like, you really enjoy using, in your personal life and why?
I guess this is a little bit more work related, but Notion AI has just been so phenomenal. They're big customers of ours,
Mhm.
and we've worked with them on their agent. But anyways, like, they deserve all the credit. Their agent is just amazing, and so being like ramping at BrainTrust is being good at Notion AI.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, anyways, Sarah and the team, they have just been really fun to work with. I think the other product that I'm loving is granola,
Yeah.
and it's a superpower to be 100% invested in the conversation that you're in. And so I'm working on that. I'm not perfect at it, but granola has helped me there. And then, yeah, anyways, they're customers of ours as well. It's a
Mhm.
really cool team. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great product. And then just finally, how can our listeners kind of stay in touch with you and help you on your journey?
I've deleted all like social media. So if you want to stay in touch with me, you either need to call me on
Yeah.
my cell phone, or you need to follow me on LinkedIn. That's basically that's where I'm at. So
All right. Well, unless you're willing to hand out your cell phone number here, I think we'll just like direct people to LinkedIn. Yeah.
that's right. Just ping me on LinkedIn. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Brian, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Doug, super fun. Thanks for it, man.
All right. Thank you.